In the bustling world of business, you're either moving forward or falling behind. Welcome to For Action Takers Only, the podcast and Facebook group where dreams become reality. We're here to fuel your ambition, sharpen your skills, and inspire your entrepreneurial spirit. Dive into the sea of opportunities with our insightful discussions, expert advice, and powerful success stories. From investment strategies to business building tips, we've got it all. Are you ready to take your first step towards your dream life? Join us on this exciting journey, unleash your potential, and watch as your dreams transform into your reality. Remember, inaction is the enemy of progress. So get on the action train with For Action Takers Only, because the time to act is now and the place to start is here. For those who dare to dream and have the courage to act, the world is their oyster. For Action Takers Only, where dreams meet action. Tune in, take action, and transform your life. Your future self will thank you.
And welcome to For Action Takers Only. This is the podcast for serial entrepreneurs and real estate investors and anyone taking action and living the life they intend to. That means they're chasing their dreams and doing what they need to do. My name is Todd Kirchhoff, and I'm your host. I started this podcast as a homework assignment for Pace Morby in his Sub-2 community. And I continued it because I like to hear the stories and motivation behind those taking action. So today I have Jason Bates. He is a transaction coordinator or a creative transaction coordinator, part of the community, and he is Chief Executive Officer, founder at Venture Vibes Fund. He is the co-owner at Nationwide Notary and also the co-owner and chief of staff at Finish Line TC Services. So he is definitely a serial entrepreneur. I'm going to bring him in here. We want to hear his story, see what's going on. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I love people like you that are getting these stories and messages out there, because really business ownership and entrepreneurship is literally for everyone if they just realize that the skills they have and their W-2 can be transferred to owning and running a business.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So how long have you been running businesses, starting businesses?
Well, see, I actually had a martial arts school many years ago. I opened it in 2012, 2013 timeframe. And then I sold it to my business partner in 2019, actually right before COVID. So I kind of got out at the right time. Now, the school itself is doing really well. My business partner is doing really well in that respect. So in all regards, it ended up being a great business that continued on well without me. But for my real estate journey, I have been in real estate for just over 2 years now. Started in single family. You were talking about Pace in this community. That's kind of where I first got started. So I own 4 rental properties. All of them I got creatively, right? I've got 3 that are long-term and 1 that is short-term. And then I hold the note on a 4-plex that just wasn't cash flowing right, because that's one of the things I didn't know what I didn't know until I came into Pace's community and realized, I just didn't structure this right. So I ended up selling that a year ago to somebody who had a phenomenal year, and they were looking for a asset that wasn't making a lot of money. And so it was able for me to sell it off, still hold the note, and just put a couple $100 a month in my pocket.
Oh, wow. All right. So what made you get started doing this? You started with a martial arts. What made you decide to do that? What did you do after high school? Like, what were you doing in high school and stuff like that?
Oh yeah,
business.
No, actually, out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? I was like everybody else. You were told, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get good grades, get that, that 9-to-5 job, that 401k, and, just keep climbing that corporate ladder. But then when I got out of high school, I was scratching my head and I said, well, wait a minute, I don't know what I want to do for a living. And I didn't know how to run a business. So I jumped right into the military. So I spent 8 years in the United States Navy as a submariner. And for someone who did not know what he wanted to be when he grew up, it was a great choice, right? I got to learn a skill. I got to meet some amazing people. I got to see some areas of the world that I probably wouldn't have seen, especially at that age. And then I got to use the GI Bill when I get out to get my bachelor's degree. So it kind of solved that problem in the long run. But again, I hadn't had that itch for running a business until I got into the W-2 world and realized that I'm working so hard for other people, and it just takes one mistake, and then you just everything goes south. The job goes south, the career goes south, everything. Doesn't matter. You can do 100 great things and you make one mistake, and yeah, you just get listed as somebody who doesn't perform, and then they pass you by.
You got a bad attitude. Something you're labeled something. You're right there.
Yeah. And then, of course, once you're labeled that, then you just start playing that role because it's easy, right? Uh, so if they're gonna label, if they're gonna label you as something, you just go, okay, fine, that's how you see me. But my career, I spent most of my life in project management. Working for, General Dynamics, L3 Communications, Autodesk, some of the biggest name companies, managing multi-million-dollar programs. And I went, wait a minute, I'm really running a miniature business. I'm running a miniature business that's a few years long. I've got, assets, I've got risks, I've got stakeholders, I've got a budget, I've got a schedule. Those are all the things you kind of want to understand when you run a business. The profit and loss of your program is no different than the profit and loss of your business. So then I started putting things together and realized, wow, I really do have all the skills to be an entrepreneur, and didn't even realize because I was doing it for other people. And I really took notice of that when I got into transaction coordination, because all TC work is a 30-day project from opening escrows the start of the project and close of escrows the end of the project. But in there, you got your communication plan. You got to keep everybody informed. You got your stakeholder management. You have all the people behind the scenes, and then you've got the risk management. What can go wrong? And so there's all these gamuts of things in transaction coordination that's really not much different than project management.
Right. So what made you decide, all right, a lot of people are jumping into sub 2, a lot of people are doing gators. What made you decide TC, and how did you come across PACE and TC, the TC program in the first place?
Yeah, I really like that because it's kind of a story that kind of made sense. So I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos. It was the day after Thanksgiving of 2022. It's the day after Thanksgiving. I was watching a bunch of videos because I knew there was a way to buy real estate, but I was doing the math and figured I couldn't leverage banks for building a real estate empire. And so that's when I saw Pace and talking about his community. And I said, okay, well, that sounds like a viable way to do things, because I've heard about seller financing and all kinds of other things. I just didn't understand how it applied to real estate. And so I just went ahead and signed up for his course. And of course, day one was incredible. People reached out from all over the community willing to help. All the stuff that's in the Zoom Vault is incredible. You can decide what you want to focus on or not focus on. And so I made it a point that I was going to get at least my first seller finance property within the first 90 days. And so I joined November of 2022. And then by January 23, I had my first seller finance under contract. It was a single family house in Florida. The seller wanted a really low payment, like $550 a month, and I rent that for $2,600. That's probably one of my best long-term rentals. So that was the first, right? And once you do your first, the log jam breaks, and everything opens up, and you have that aha moment that says, "Wow, if I can do this once, I can do it again." So I ended up acquiring 4 properties over that next year, but then I realized it wasn't going fast enough. I was getting impatient, and so 6 months into the sub 2, I jumped into Gator because I really liked what that had. Because I like the idea of being able to make money off of capital that I didn't even have, and then use that capital, because sometimes in these sub 2 deals and these creative finance deals, you have to pull the trigger quickly, and you can't always get the PMLs lined up in time. And I was always worried about losing some of these deals. So having some money in the account that I can kind of draw from to get these, properties under contract, and then bring in a PML later, gave me some breathing room. So that's kind of where Gator fit in, is it allowed me to build a chunk of money that allowed me to go after some deals that I might not have been able as aggressive on, because, the worst time to raise capital is when you need it. That's basically the bottom line. As soon as you need money, it's too late. And so that's another thing Gator taught me, is to build relationships with people so that when you need money, you're ready to pull the trigger, which has been really helpful in having a fund, because that's what I've been doing, is building relationships to raise private capital so that people can get into some of these real estate assets without having to actually buy and sell or operate any kind of real estate business. So it's really been incredible from that perspective. And then from there, I jumped right into transaction coordination, because when Molly was first talking about it, it really resonated with me that, oh, okay, this is just another project management position. But I kind of got into it a little bit selfishly because I wanted to TC my own deals. So I could TC my own purchase of real estate. I could TC my own Gator deals. And then once you start peeling back the layer of the onions and you realize you can help so many investors, I just made that a part of my business and then ended up joining a phenomenal team, Finish Line TC Services. And I created so much value that after being with them for about 6 to 8 months, they gave me an equity share of the company, and I ended up becoming part owner. And I haven't looked back. It's been incredible.
Wow. So the Finish Line is doing really good then.
Yeah, we're
Staying
doing
busy.
we're doing phenomenal. We've got maybe about 20 TCs total. We do everything creative, from the buying and selling of real estate, the buying and selling of businesses, the buying and selling of vehicles. We have a dedicated post-close team. We've partnered with a law firm so that now we can assist with promissory notes and deeds of trust and stuff like that, written up by an attorney, because TC should not be writing that stuff up. And so we really wanted to become the one-stop shop in transaction coordination. And the really cool thing about this company is Jennifer Cortez and Jay Holder, who are the founders, they actually launched Finish Line months before Top Tier TC even existed. So they were one of the first ones out there to just go for it. And then once Top Tier TC came out, it just made sense that from there they were going to build that team with nothing but Top Tier TC certified TCs.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: are these people down there by you in your neck of the woods in Corpus?
No, I mean we're actually spread out. I mean, I believe Jay Holder's in Arkansas. Jennifer Cortez is in Connecticut. January Batten, who's the other co-owner, I think she's near Kansas City. We've got a TC up in Washington State. I mean, we're spread out all over. But the beauty about transaction coordination is we can do all 50 states and Puerto Rico. And what's amazing is we've got a couple fluent Spanish speakers on our team, so we're doing transactions down in Puerto Rico all the time. And so
Awesome.
it's been nice. We can be literally anywhere on the planet, and we could TC. I mean, I was down in Jamaica for a week, and I had a couple transactions I was working on. So, there's no limit of what you can do. With this, even with real estate. I mean, I have broker deals driving down the road where, I'm riding passenger and I'm on the phone, closing deals and, signing contracts via my phone. It's just, it's an amazing that, Pace built a system that truly has everything from start to finish. You've got top tier underwriting, you've got the sub 2, you've got the Gator and the PML, you've got the transaction coordination, and it all fits together in a nice, neat little puzzle.
That's awesome. So what are you focusing on now?
So right now, like I said, I started getting impatient last year when we were doing single family, and I said, let's just make the switch to multifamily. And but of course, I didn't know what I didn't know. But you know what happens? You put it out in the universe, and then something comes along that says, "Well, yeah, you're on the right path." So my partner and I, we had found that Vina Jetty was offering a 1-day class on a Saturday in Phoenix, Arizona, or in Scottsdale, Arizona. Forgive me. And that was really good because we didn't have to take a day off work, because at the time we both had W-2. I don't have a W-2 anymore, thank goodness. But we both had a W-2, and so we ended up going there, and we ended up joining her mastermind, and she basically just opens the playbook on everything multifamily, from how to hire a securities attorney to having a fund to underwriting to you name it, to asset management to property management, all the gamut. So imagine all the things Pace taught in the creative group, she taught in the multifamily group around how to run a multifamily business. So what's really cool is everything I learned in sub 2 serves me in multifamily, because I always go into any multifamily transaction and say, look, I'd love to go to the bank and I'd love to give you asking price, but the numbers don't roll up. A bank is just not going to fund it. We're solving a math problem here. We're not trying to, not give you what you want. And so at that point, all the stuff we learn in the creative world really comes into play. And it seems like in the multifamily space, because you're buying a business more than you're buying a piece of real estate, they're a lot more open to talking terms and seeing how we can creatively structure this so that I have an asset that cash flows on day one, and I have a business that cash flows on day one, and then they have something that they can walk away from and feel comfortable that they got a good chunk of money at close, and then they've got a good monthly paycheck that'll keep them going well into their retirement or whatever their next project is.
All right. So do you know the Muds here in Houston?
Yes, I am familiar with them. My business partner and wife is a top tier certified underwriter. She underwrites for Vina Jetty, so she has looked at some deals with them, and so I have not met them in person yet, but I know she's been on some Zooms with them,
Okay.
helping them with some underwriting.
Cool, cool. So, what are the biggest challenges of going from, starting a fund? You're talking about, I mean, you've gone from TC to sub two. I mean, you're kind of jumping all around. What are the biggest challenges in learning to start a fund?
The biggest challenge is understand that there's some regulations that you just can't get around, and you have to make sure you're checking all the boxes and following all the processes. So my biggest piece of advice is hire a securities attorney. They will A, keep you out of hot water, and B, they will help you every step of the way, right? Because it's just one of those things where you don't know what you don't know, and then until you decide to try it. So it was a relatively easy process. I mean, it costs you. I mean, it was about 12 to 15K to get everything set up. But the beauty is as you raise funds for multiple properties, you can start to pay yourself back for those attorney fees, because those are all included in the PPM. So when an investor signs a PPM saying that they're investing in your particular um, business or asset, it says right in there, okay, I have a certain percentage for attorney fees, I have a certain percentage for CPA, so they know up front where their money is going and how it's being deployed on top of the potential return. So that was really the biggest challenge, is I didn't know what I didn't know. But what was really cool is that was the hard part. The easy part was the capital raising, because of all the things Pace has taught in both the sub 2 and the Gator community about building relationships, providing value, finding finding the bunnies in real estate is no different than finding the bunnies in an investor. What is it that they're looking for? What pain point are you trying to solve for them? Are they looking for retirement? Are they looking for tax breaks? Are they looking for cash flow? What is it that they want, and so that what asset can you put their money in that'll give them the returns and the protections they're looking for? Because I've had investors that said, look, I just want a monthly check, and I've had investors say, I need some kind of tax shelter, so tell me what your tax strategy is. What should depreciation look like? Are you doing a cost segregation? Those kind of things. So again, one of the things you want to do is, you don't need to know everything in multifamily, so you hire a tax strategist, you hire a CPA, you hire a securities attorney, and so you have the people that's all they do. Have them focus on that, so you can focus on building those relationships.
Okay. That's a lot. That's a whole lot right there. So, trying to take all that in, because you got to get the relationships right, and then hire the people you need.
Yep.
And so, that's a lot with multifamily. So, what would you recommend someone jumping from single family homes to multifamily do first? What would be like, say, your first step, first thing they need to learn?
Yeah, well, just like in single family, you got to find your avatar, right? What is it that you want to do? It's no different than multifamily. I actually call it multifamily not because it's multiple doors, because it's multiple people to make it work. So you might want to specialize in asset management. So then you want to build a team around you that could start going out and looking for assets, somebody who can raise capital for you so that you can manage those assets. You might want to get into property management. So, deciding what you want to get into, and then, either finding a mentor or somebody that's already doing what you're doing, and shadow them and figure out, okay, how does this whole, multifamily thing work and all the different moving parts? I actually think if I knew then what I knew now, I would just jump right into multifamily. There's just so many cool assets of it, and there's so many different ways to make money along the way, because you make money when you acquire the asset. So when I acquire an asset, I put in a it's not an assignment fee, it's a acquisition fee. So you take a percentage of the overall asset, anywhere between 1% to 5%, and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to pay me and my team, because we found the asset, we negotiated it, we got it under contract, and then we got it through escrow and we closed. So you get a percentage between 1% to 5% of whatever the value of that multifamily asset is. And then when you have a fund and you have a GP LP split, the GP is the people running the asset, like myself, and the LP are the people bringing the cash. So this is truly a business where I am buying multi-million-dollar assets with zero of my own money. And so then you get that GP split where you get a percentage of the cash flow every month. And then when you sell at the higher price, you get that GP split of the sell price, and you get what's like an asset. You get what's like an acquisition fee when you sell as well. So you're making money three ways: front end, during the management of the asset, and on the back end when you sell. So it really is a great process.
Okay, so are you looking to buy and hold multifamily, or are you wholesaling multifamily?
I'm currently buying and holding, but usually the hold period is anywhere between 5 to 7 years, because you want to spend the first year or two bringing all the value add, so bringing up the value of the property, raising the rents, making it more profitable. And then you need about 2 years of steady, hey, here's really what we're making now. We bought it for this, and now we're making this on it. And then you can sell it at a much higher price. And so that all gets projected in the underwriting. You say, okay, well, here's the cap rate I'm going to buy it for. Here's the cap rate I'm going to operate it at. And here's the cap rate I'm going to sell it for. So you really know from day one really where you're going to take this particular asset and how you're going to make money for your investors.
Okay, so making that transition from single family to multifamily, how many doors have you accumulated so far?
So right now
How
I've
many
got
single family
so
you own
so
too? How many single family you own also?
yeah
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
yeah. So for the single family, I own 4 doors, and I hold the paper on a fourplex. So I hold the note on a fourplex. So like I said, it just wasn't happening fast enough. Now part of it was probably because I didn't build a team so that I could scale, and that was really one of the things I learned going into multifamily is how to build a team and how to scale so that you can start going after the bigger ones. So right now I've got an RV park under contract that we're doing due diligence on. It's got 64 pads. It has a barnuminium, and it has 10 to 20 campsites. And so there's room to expand. So that's part of the growth plan, right? Is what value adds can we add to the park over time? And the cool thing about RV parks that are different than apartment complexes is we have guests, we don't have tenants. So I don't have to follow any of the landlord laws like I do for an apartment complex. I don't have any of the overhead things that I have for apartment complex, and insurance is usually less expensive because you've got different structures, right? So it really is an asset class that gives you all the fun capabilities of multifamily with just a little bit different rules.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, I'd never thought of it. You just opened up a whole RV parks are their tenants they're not tenants, they're guests.
Mm-hmm. Now,
even long-term ones?
they're not all equal, right? There's a lot of people that buy RV parks just to have tenants, especially worker camps. And you see that a lot here in Texas because you got the wind farms here, you've got the natural gas here, and so you do see RV parks. They strictly just do they rent out spaces to workers, and those are technically tenants. But it all depends on how you do it. And the fun part is I like hanging out where other people vacation. I like trying to add value to a place to make it more fun. It's just a fun way to be in multifamily, right? Because nobody ever packs up their kids to go to an apartment complex.
Right.
So
you're right there. So are you actively managing then? Are you going to actively manage these properties, or are you going to hire a management company?
Yeah, I'm going to hire a management company because you know this, Todd, because you're an action taker. Nobody wants to buy a business to basically buy themselves a new job. So that's not what I want. That's what I want to do either. So, like I said, I told you my partner, she's an amazing underwriter. So she puts all that in there. So if we can't cash flow with day one with a management team in place and being able to come out the gate cash flowing, it's just not a deal, right? So, we don't have the luxury to spend a year or two to try to make it profitable. It has to be profitable on day one, and it has to be such that it's not creating a job for ourselves. Now, we do have where our expertise is we understand what value adds to bring and what systems we want to put in place. So yes, there'll be a little bit of hands-on up front as we put all the systems in place and train the manager, and then the manager will take over and say, okay, now it's your job to go forth and make us profitable. And then we check in weekly and monthly on KPIs and make sure we're on the right track.
Okay. What kind of KPIs are you tracking normally on your, do you do calls? Do you call people, or did you, when you started out, I got to ask this too, when you started out in real estate and doing the TCs, were you cold calling, doing all that stuff, or how did you jump into finding leads and getting in deals?
Yeah. So again, as we talked about earlier, we're in the relationship business, right? So when I first started in real estate, I had a W-2. So I started building relationships with bird dogs and wholesalers because they had the time to find these really cool deals. I knew how to fine tune them and structure them so that they were profitable. My business partner and wife, she knew how to underwrite them in a way that was profitable. And so with those combined, we didn't have to focus our energy on finding assets. We just had to make sure that they were an asset that was worth keeping. And so that's kind of how we first started, was just building those relationships with people, finding deals and taking them off their hands.
Okay. All right. I was wondering. So, you said your partner. Now I was wondering who's your partner? Who's the one doing underwriting? And then you mentioned it briefly. Your wife.
Yeah, she was in the sub 2 community as Erica Wald, but we just got married this last week, and so
Oh, really?
yeah, that's what I was doing in Jamaica as we were getting married.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, she was one of she was the first top tier certified underwriter that passed the multifamily exam, because there's a test, and then you have to do some underwriting in front of Bo where you have to prove your underwriting. She was the first one to pass the multifamily. And then she has now since gone on to teach underwriting in Vina Jetty's mastermind group. So she teaches there as well. So
Okay,
when you
cool.
asked if we knew the mud, she had
I can
done
look to
some
her because I want to brush up on
underwriting
some
with them.
underwriting. Yes, I want to learn some. I went and took a course from Cornell. I thought it would teach me some underwriting. It was a real estate investing course, mostly commercial, and it talked about the financial, the finances and building, capital stacks and stuff like that. But it didn't
Yeah,
really. It got into some, but I think the course confused me more and got me more just, whoa, I'm lost.
yeah. But if you're raising capital like most multi-family people are, because that's really how you want to structure these, right? You want to make money. You want to make money for your investors, and you want to be able to do what you love without having to use your own money. Understanding
Right.
those capital stacks and what kind of returns you're giving. So, I mean, if you tell an investor that you can get them between 15 to 25% cash on cash, and you can get them a 30% IRR or greater, and then you could double their money in 3 to 7 years, you will have their undivided attention. And so there
Right.
are some really good deals in the multifamily space out there that are showing those kind of numbers.
Okay. So Bo,
If you do your homework up front, if you do that underwriting up front. So
right. So the underwriting is very important. And what did you say
yeah,
your wife's name was? Erica.
it was Erica Wald, so you might see a lot of activity, but now her last name is Bates.
Bates.
So,
Okay.
but
Erica Wald Bates. Okay.
yeah,
And she's
but if you're going to look for her archive, she might be out there under Wald, but she has since
okay.
changed her name.
All right. I might ask her to get on too and tell us some about how she got started in this. So
Yeah,
did y'all meet through sub 2 then? I got to ask this. Y'all meet through
yeah.
sub 2 and
No,
top?
we actually didn't, but when we met, we talked about wanting to get into real estate because she had owned a construction company for about 20 years where they were flipping houses. So she had been in the real estate game long before me. And then when we met and I had been watching Pace, I said that I was really interested in real estate, and she said, yes, please. And so we joined Sub 2 together. And so that's kind of
That's
how that started. So
That's awesome. So doing this together, I see a lot of couples doing this together, and they
yeah,
really do excellent jobs, especially when you have that, you kind of got a team already built. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like I'm doing this alone sometimes. It would be great to have a partner that really is like, hey, I see what you're doing, I see what you're trying to do, and I can help you with that.
Yeah, and that's just really cool, right? So I'm a visionary and a closer. She's a underwriter and a integrator. But the really cool thing is she can switch over to visionary like that. So the beauty is when she underwrites, she knows how to. She shows me how to pitch the deal in such a way that I can close on it without me having to know all the integral details on how she came to those numbers. And so there really is that trust factor too, that she knows what she's doing, and she just says, okay, this is the parameters you want to stay in. This is kind of how you want to sell it to the end, to the seller. And this is how you want to sell it to our investors. And so it really has become a powerful team. And then but that has gotten us to grow as well. And so we have started partnering with other capital raisers and other people that have managed assets and said, okay, we can take all this combined knowledge and we can take over the world. Because, like I said, it's not multifamily because of multiple doors. It's multifamily because it takes multiple people to make it tick, to make it function properly.
Yeah, it took me a while. I didn't really understand it at first, but seeing then taking the course, I was like, oh wow, it's especially with the commercial real estate, the big properties. Yeah, it takes a lot. I
Yeah.
always wondered. I didn't have too much. I don't know. The big stuff scares me. It took me a while to get into real estate because it scared me. Now I'm thinking about multifamily and commercial more because I don't see the cash flows in the single families anymore. So
Yeah.
the big stuff though scares me. So I gotta
And
get over this.
that's normal. And that's normal. And I would argue that you understand it and it will make sense. You just got to expand your mind to that bigger scale. I mean,
Hmm.
what works on one door technically works on 100 doors. You just have to be more methodical about it because, the risk and opportunity just increased.
Right. So tell me, getting into all this stuff, what kind of doubts did you have when getting in, when starting up?
Yeah, so you get, imposter syndrome hits you like from the moment you make the decision, right? It just slams you right in the face. However, I've started to learn that imposter syndrome is just the universe way of telling you you're on the right path. And there's a lot of, so this is the way the brain works. The brain goes, okay, if it can be done once, it can be done again. So when you try something new, your brain pulls all these files in the back of the head trying to find something similar. So it says, okay, well, you've done something kind of like this. You've done single family, so you've got your foot in the water. So then you start to feel a little bit more confident. And then your brain reminds you, okay, you got all these people that are out there doing it. So people out there that are doing what you want, they're not better than you. They're just doing it different. So if you figure out what they're doing different, that's when you can start to make the change you need to build that confidence and overcome that fear. And so, I joined, we joined Vita Jetty's mastermind. We've actually sat down across the dinner table and had in-depth conversations with her. We've talked to, Rosie, who does the Clifton Strengths and talks about, where we should be focusing our energy on based on where our strengths are and how we should build a team around the Clifton Strength. And we just started expanding and talking to people, knowing that we don't have to be experts in everything, but we need to find the experts in the areas that we need to grow. And then it got less and less scary because your brain started building that confidence bridge that says, well, if you can do it once, you can do it again. Great. Well, that person did it once, so they can do it again. And now you're partnered with them. So, okay, I feel confident I can definitely do it. So what you're going through, Todd, is completely normal. We've all been there. Now you got the point that says, oh, okay, I'm a little scared. Okay, that's okay. That means I'm on the right path. Now I just got to start putting myself out there and meeting the people that are doing what I want to do. I treat it like this. You've been to the beach before, right? It doesn't matter how much you brush off and shake things out. There's sand in your car and there's sand, in your house. And you're going, how the heck did all this happen? Well, that's kind of what it's like when you leave your comfort zone, right? Your comfort is a little island of sand. And so you leave your comfort zone, you go try something new for a little bit. All the sand collects in your pockets and the cuff of your pants and in your shoes, and you bring it back to your island. But you'll find that over time, your island keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger because you push yourself out of your comfort zone just enough to learn something and bring it back and let your brain marinate on that and say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yes, I can do this. I feel a little bit more confident.
I like that. So when you were getting involved, did you sit down and write down some goals that you wanted to hit when starting out your businesses?
Yeah, similar to goals, we like to think in outcomes because outcomes allows us to pivot and take action when things aren't going right. Because here's the way outcomes work. You set an outcome and you either achieve it or you don't. If you achieve it, great, then you set your next outcome. If you don't achieve it, great, you pivot and you set a new outcome. I'll give you an example. So, and we can all relate to this because we're about to hit January and everybody in January wants to lose 10 pounds. They want to lose 15 pounds. We all want to do it. Well, what happens when you set a goal on January 1st? You end up quitting either between the 7th or the 12th because losing weight is so ambiguous and it's difficult at first, right? Weight doesn't shift very quickly. And so the first thing people do is goes, well, okay, well, this is hard. I haven't lost the weight. I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. But now if you go in there with an outcome that says, look, my outcome for January is to live a healthier lifestyle. And so Now what happens is I'm going to bed a little bit earlier. I'm reducing stress. I'm moving my body a little more. It doesn't mean I join the gym. It just means I move my body a little more. I go for a walk after dinner, or I park at the end of the parking lot and I walk all the way to where I'm going instead of parking up front. And then lo and behold, the weight starts falling off because that's the outcome. The outcome of living a healthier lifestyle means is your stress goes down, so your weight goes down. And then you find that the decisions you made are make more sense because you're thinking in a health outcome versus a weight loss goal. And so that's been the same for us in real estate. You know, our outcome is to be successful in relationship by building relationships with people, by going after assets that have the certain metrics we're looking for to give return on investments to investors. Because at the end of the day, your biggest shortfall of why you didn't get an asset is because you couldn't raise the capital to do it. So understanding the investors box and going out there and finding deals and underwriting those deals that can get the potential returns that they're looking for is really our outcome, right? And then our final outcome is we're not buying a job for ourselves. So every asset we find, we figure out how to make it so it could be self-managed or self-run. I mean, Cody Sanchez just talks about this all the time in buying businesses. Don't even think of buying a business unless you've met somebody who could be your operator.
That's a good. That's part of a team too. Then having your team.
Yep.
So you talked about Clifton Strengths. You took that test.
Yeah. That's one of the really cool things that Vina Jetty requires you to do. She requires you to take that test, and then she has a live 4-day event where she immerses you into how to run a multifamily business, and then she sits you next to people based on, okay, they have a strength that you might not have the same strength on, and then you guys could, and you have a strength that they might not have. Not that you have a weakness, because I believe that your strengths are in place because if you tell me a weakness, I'll show you a corresponding strength that's in place because of that weakness. So in Clifton Strengths, it's not about weaknesses. It's just you have strength that go from number 1 to number whatever. I can't remember what the final number is. So you can either say, okay, well, I don't have this high number. I can either work on it, or I can partner with somebody where that's a very high number for them. And so Clifton Strengths really helps you understand how you lead, and then where you need to lead from depending on what you're going to do next. So you can either A, look for somebody who has that strength, or B, go, okay, I'm going to focus on that. Because here's my belief is if I put enough time and energy into something, I will master it. So if I decide that I'm going to go after that, I will master it. But it might be, I don't have time for that. So I've got to go find somebody who has that strength, and I've got to partner with them, and so that they can handle that part. So I can delegate that to them. And then that's my belief. And then outside of that, I always say, okay, if I go into every situation with an open kimono, my value is that I value people's feedback, because I can either say, A, I'm going to master that because if I put enough time and energy, I can, or B, I'm going to set that to the side and I'm going to go focus on something else in the meantime, and I might come back to that later.
Okay. So what were your that's some things I need to do that Clifton test. So what were your strengths?
So I lead with relationships. So relationships is blue. So there's different colors. So I lead with relationships, meaning that's my number 1. My number 1 is relationships. My number 2 is learner. So why that becomes powerful, why that 1 and 2 is powerful, is when I'm raising capital, there's 2 things I want to understand. Is I want to understand what makes that person tick. That's the learner part of me. And then I want to build that relationship and connection, because I want to be as connected to them as they are to me. I legitimately care about what they do and why they do it. And so having those 2 things together helps me excel as a capital raiser. So that's why that's important. So I have an insatiable desire to learn, and that's about anything. And so, God bless my wife who keeps me in check, because I'll start chasing down something because I just want to learn it, even though I shouldn't be focusing on that. But it really helps me in the relationship building process, because I can build true, honest connections with people because I learn what they want and how they want it. And I basically give them what they want within that relationship, and it really works out. So for me, leading with relationships followed by learner has been really powerful for me, especially with capital raising.
Now I think I'd be a learner. I know that. I don't know. I got to do this test because I
Yeah.
keep hearing a lot about it, and I
It
got to
doesn't
find out where I
it
go.
doesn't take
Learner.
it doesn't take very long, and I think it's really inexpensive. I think it was $60. It was worth it. It was well worth it. And then from there, you can reach out to Rosie Noel, and she'll do coaching based on your Clifton strengths, and she provides a ton of value, an absolute ton of value
Really?
on Clifton strengths. Yeah,
So let me ask you. You mentioned coaching now. Now you're going to have me go down. I haven't asked any of the questions that I had here.
I love it. That means we're having
So we're
fun.
just yeah, we're having a good time, and that's the way I like it to go. So anyway, you talk about coaching. When you first got in, you have doubts? We all have doubts.
Yep.
Did you go off and start finding coaching and doing any mindset stuff when you had doubts?
Absolutely, and you'll see some of the biggest people and most successful people on the planet have coaches. They all do. So my first coach was a gentleman by the name of Michael Burnoff. He specializes in communication. In fact, the name of his business is the Human Communication Institute, and he really taught me how to change language in myself and others to get what I want out of life. And so when I find myself head on with imposter syndrome, when I find myself head on with something that's new that would normally, scare people, and in the past would scare myself, he taught me techniques and ways to overcome that so that I could actually truly get what I want out of life. So he's really been, my mindset coach in that respect. And then an offshoot of that is, like I said, Rosie Noel, who basically she focuses on your Clifton strengths. Her level of coaching, is a whole different level of coaching that kind of allows you to really focus on your strengths and why they're your strengths and why you should be using them more often. And more importantly, what are the strengths you should be working on, or you should be partnering with someone so that you can also get what you want out of life. So from a mindset aspect, those two cover those really well. And then, of course, when it came to sub two, that's Pace and the leaders in that community. When it comes to top tier TC, that's, Molly Tennant and Ashley Mason. When it comes to multifamily, it's Vina Jetty. And it's not just Vina Jetty; it's her whole family is involved with her multifamily business. Her sister, her parents, and then of course, because Vina shares her entire playbook, everybody that is on her team, you have access to. You have access to her securities attorney, her tax strategist, CPA, asset man. You name it. If you want to do business with her people, she allows that. And so
Okay.
it's just been incredible.
Awesome. So coaching now, team building. How are you at team building? How are your skills at team building?
Yeah.
Picking people, finding good team members. How are your skills
So
at that?
so that is really powerful, and that's where leading with relationships is helpful, because I can find the best in somebody and I can amplify it, and I can take the things that are preventing them from getting what they want and reframe that and get them to be successful. And so, again, leading with relationships, or leading with Blue and Clifton Strengths, allows me to build teams and pull the best out of somebody to get to complete that shared vision, right? Because in order to, a real leader can bring clarity within chaos, right? And their job is to share that vision. So if you and I were to partner on something, the only way to be successful is for you and I to have the same shared vision, and for you to believe in my vision enough that you would say, okay, I'm willing to work on that because I believe in what you're telling me. So that's really the key to team building. And so if you find yourself kind of struggling in that area of building a team because you're trying to be a manager over being a leader, because as we know, managers manage things and leaders lead people, then you want to partner with somebody who is really good at relationships and really good at team building and finding the best in somebody without making them feel bad first, right? Because that's the old management style, right? Is we got to knock you down and tell you all the bad things you're doing, and then we'll pick you up and try to see if we can improve you. That
Well,
doesn't
that's how
work
we're all
anymore.
taught in school.
Exactly.
That's our
Exactly.
education system.
Exactly. And it doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. We've seen it. I know it doesn't work in myself. The traditional education system it doesn't work for me. It definitely didn't work for my son. I'll tell you that. So
No, it's a terrible thing because I still see it affecting lives and how things I see it in my family here and how you just tell how you shame people, you shame them because they're doing wrong, and it's like doing wrong is a bad thing, and it's not always
yeah,
it's not always a bad thing, because doing wrong is sometimes a learning situation. And I never looked at it like that until I got into my adult years. It's just like, well, hold on a second, I got to learn somehow.
Yeah, and you think about it this way, some philosophy is, well, I'm not truly successful unless everybody fails, but you have to understand, and Tom Brady says it the best is, yeah, I've got a bunch of wins, and we could talk about that, but that's not really why I became successful. I became successful because I focused on the losses. I focused on the failures. And when I focused on that, I became a better man, a better business person, a better football player, a better quarterback. He goes, yeah, the wins are cool, but that's not where I got. I didn't get to where I am in life because of all the wins. I got where I am in life because of the failures and what I learned from them.
Right, because without the failures, you probably wouldn't have, you wouldn't have pushed harder to get some of those wins. So let me ask you this: what were some of your limiting beliefs and mindset issues that you had when you were starting out?
So, believe it or not, when I first started out in real estate, I didn't have those limiting beliefs because, like I said, I was working with Michael Burnoff. But I did have similar to limiting beliefs to what other people had. My first limiting belief was, of course, I'm not good enough, right? So I go into a room and I look at these successful people, or then you discover that some of these successful people are pretending to be successful. That became a limiting belief, right? That I'm not good enough. So, once I realized that I was good enough to be in these rooms, I just needed to find out what I didn't know and start partnering with the people who knew what I wanted to know. That was the one thing. My other limiting belief is I could do it all myself. So my definition of success is I figured it out. Well, the problem is I do figure things out, and I do feel incredibly empowered when I do that. The problem is a lot of times it takes forever, and nobody wants that. And a lot of times I push people away when they really could have hit fast forward. So those were two really big limiting beliefs that I was kind of working on before I got into real estate, but definitely became things that could hinder you if I didn't continue to work on those. So the most powerful, we are a society right now that's so autonomous. There's so many generations raised to just do it on your own. It's a weakness to ask for help, all that. But I can tell you that the moment I was able to ask for help and then accept it, because asking for help is one thing, but if you don't accept it, then once I accepted it, and when I realized the best gift I can give anybody is to allow them to help me, that changed everything. I hit fast forward on everything. Things don't take me a long time to learn anymore, and I don't have to do it. I don't have to do everything myself.
I still struggle. I struggle a lot with I got this. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
And that's normal, Todd, because think about all the things you've overcome in life. Think about how far you've gone. Even when the naysayers say you couldn't do it, you did it, and you did it on your own. And that's powerful. And your brain keeps reminding you of that.
But you mentioned one thing, the time. It's been time consuming. Yeah. Some things take very long for me to figure out.
Yeah, and it becomes exhausting, especially when somebody figured it out like that, and you go, wait a minute, that person must be smarter than me. No, they're not smarter than me. They're just doing it different. That's it. Right. All they're doing is different, and then that changes everything.
Well, I've had this thing in life, all through life. Okay, all these people figure out how to make money. They get rich, they get wealthy, they figure out how to make money. I'm still struggling with it. So, and you hit it nail on the head. Are they smarter than me? No, I don't think they're smarter than me. They have a different skill set. They did something different. I could never figure it out. Then I started figuring out, okay, well, it's investing. They're investing. They're getting other ways. Income where they're not having to do anything towards it. Pretty much, they don't have to put in much effort. It's very little effort, physical effort. But see, I was taught in the old school way: go to school, get a good job, do that, save for retirement. That was how I was raised. So,
and think about this too, Todd. You've been an investor your whole life. You just been investing in the wrong things. I know this because I was guilty of that too. I just invested in the wrong things. So we're all really good investors. We just got to figure out what we want to invest in. Right. And so a lot of times we put ourselves last. We invest in other people, but we don't invest in ourselves. So that was a big game changer for me as well. Is okay. Well, I am just as important, if not more important. I need to invest in myself, which comes back to the whole coaching thing, right? That we talked about earlier. Is once you realize that you are your best investment, then you have no problem paying for coaches and paying for classes and paying for seminars. But the one thing you have to tell yourself going into that, the one outcome you want to have is, okay, how quickly can I utilize this and get my return on investment, and how can I monetize this information so that I can take my investment, make money in the future. And the martial arts is the biggest example of that, because you work your way to black belt so that you can turn around and charge somebody else to teach them self-defense, because now you invested the time, the money, and energy into becoming a black belt, and now you can go and teach somebody else how to defend themselves, because we're not training students, we're training future black belts. So our whole outcome is to get them to black belt. And so the martial arts industry has taught us that, but most people haven't been paying attention that that's what they're doing. They're investing all this time and energy to get into black belt, and then they're taking all that information and now they're monetizing it. We can do the same thing. Pace teaches us, Vina teaches it, insert the next, influencer who has a really great product. They're teaching us now how we're going to monetize that and how we're going to get our return on investment.
Yeah, you're right on that. So tell us more about this the Venture Vibe Fund. What it's about. You told us a little bit about it. Are you focusing basically on RV parks and multifamily only with that fund?
Yeah.
And
So
how long?
Yeah, so that's where Venture Vibes came from. So Eric and I sat down and we wanted to come up with a name, and we said, look, we want that energy, that vibration of investments into vacations, boutique hotels, campgrounds, RV parks, that those kind of things. Now, we definitely have a future. We're going to use a fund to buy businesses. We got a future. We're going to use a fund to buy parking lots and storage units and apartment complexes. That's all there. That's all the future. But right now, the vibe is RV parks, vacation places, boutique hotels, not just here, but the whole boutique hotel thing is blowing up in Puerto Rico. And there's so many
really?
there's so many tax advantages that if you just move to Puerto Rico for 6 months, you can do it like a 90% tax incentive and get most of your money back on taxes. It's incredible. I got the opportunity to go speak at an event, a real estate event in Puerto Rico in June, where my TC company went out and we talked about the transaction coordination aspect. But there were a lot of investors there talking about all the tax breaks you can get in the hospitality business in Puerto Rico, because they've been hit hard in the tourist industry because they don't have a lot of hotels. And so you go out there and you do Airbnb or you do a boutique hotel, you can get a ton of tax savings and get a really good cash flow and investment.
Well, how can I find my way into a boutique motel? It's funny you're talking about that. I was looking over the summer. I was looking at one in Canyon Lake, a boutique motel there. I wanted to buy it. I wanted to go there and buy it. It had a little house next to it, and I was like, man, I'll manage that thing myself. But didn't work.
Yeah, Jerry Norton and a few others own the Looking Glass in Puerto Rico. That's now up for sale. You look for it's in the Sub 2 community. It got posted in the Sub 2 community. It's up for sale. It's a great little boutique hotel. In fact, that's where we stayed when we went to that real estate event in Puerto Rico, was at that hotel.
Now, when you did that event in Puerto Rico, was that the one with Pace? Were you out there with Pace?
No, Pace wasn't there. Jerry Norton was heading up that event.
Oh, Jerry Norton. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that one too, but Pace did one too. I saw him saying he was heading down to Puerto Rico to do it.
Yeah, I missed that one, but I got to speak at Jerry Norton's event.
All right, so are you going to Squad Up this year?
I'm gonna miss it because I've got an asset that will close by then, and then I've got a couple assets, like I said, in negotiations that'll probably be in the under contract by then, and so I'll be raising capital. So I'm probably gonna miss that event. We'll see what happens. Things might change. I know how powerful that event is. I know Pace doesn't do anything without the community involved. Even if you look at a day with Pace, it's with 100 some odd people. So it's always about bringing people together. And so I know how powerful that event is.
Have you been
right now? Go ahead.
Have you been to any Squad Ups before?
No, I missed this Squad Up because I was at another event at the same time in Scottsdale. I was telling you about Michael Burnoff. He has a live event twice a year, and this year it was the exact same time as Squad Up, but I already committed to the other event.
All right, now, hey, this is a question I had forgotten to ask while we were talking about coaches and motivation and stuff like that. Did you ever have time when you're first starting out, or did you just like, hey, I don't have the money for the coach, so I tried to avoid getting a coach? Or did you ever? I don't need that. I don't need that.
And again, that's a limiting belief, right? Is look, I can't afford that, or And then I started to learn that you can't afford not to, right? And so, in fact, it was even some friends of mine that says, look, if you really want to get where you are in life, you're going to have to invest some time and money. However, if you set your life up in outcomes, like I said, and you know that, hey, how am I going to repay myself? What am I going to do to get that return on investment? Um, and that's really been the game changer. So when an opportunity to hire a coach or to take a program comes along, I don't even hesitate. I go, okay, I know I'll get the money back because I'll figure out a way to monetize it, and then I just give myself a time frame and an outcome. And again, if I don't achieve the outcome, I just pivot and go for a new outcome. So yeah, that was a limiting belief for me. I said, oh, okay, I can't spend that kind of money. I don't have that kind of money. And then when I realized that, well, when you spend that kind of money, you make it back tenfold, then it becomes a no-brainer.
Right. So was Michael Burnoff, was that the first coach you hired?
I had that. Well, really, my martial arts instructor was my very first coach. He showed me the value of going to somebody who could teach you what he knew and then how to use that in a practical way. But then, yes, Michael Burnoff was the next one. And I actually met Michael Burnoff at a martial arts event. There was a event called the Martial Arts Business Summit where they taught martial arts school owners how to really truly run a business, because a lot of us knew how to teach martial arts, but we didn't know how to run a business. And so Michael Burnoff had spoken at that event, and there was a whole bunch of us martial arts school owners that kind of joined his community. I joined him in 2017, and I haven't looked back. He still coaches me to this day.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna check him out. Definitely gonna check him out. Cool. We're getting close to winding down. Anything else you want to tell us about? Anything you want to promote about yourself? What's going on? You got anything you're going to speak at? Anything going on that you want to mention? Now is the time.
Yeah, like I said, right now we currently have an RV park asset under contract. We're in due diligence. Due diligence ends towards the end of January, and we're looking to close on before the beginning of March. It's looking about an 18 to 20% cash on cash currently is what we're focusing on, about a 30 to 35% IRR, and just over a 2x equity multiplier, meaning that if you invest in us in day one, we're working to try to more than double your money by year 5. So that's really what we're focusing on now. But right behind those are 2 other assets. One's an 85 pad asset, and I can't remember what the third one is, but a lot of times we're looking at RV parks that are 75 pads or higher, because 75 is kind of the sweet spot. Even in multifamily real estate, 75 doors is a sweet spot where you can hire a management team and still cash flow and justify having a management team. Anything less than that, a lot of times you have to self-manage it because it's not quite making the money you want. So again, I'm with Venture Vibes Funds. We're raising capital for that, and I partnered with another capital raising team called Leapfrog, and so they're raising capital for this deal as well. And so between the 2 of us combined, we're looking to try to get 10 assets purchased in the next 12 months.
All right. So that's one of your future goals. Any other outcomes for the future you're looking at?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to speak on more stages. I think I've really got this mindset part down, and I really think I can help a lot of people. Pace and Vina and all these people, they teach a lot of really cool stuff on the how to, but what goes on between the ears is really what prevents most people from getting what they want out of life. So, going to these events and being able to talk about that, talk about the importance of transaction coordination, right? Right now in Q4, I'm helping a ton of private money lenders right now because there's just such a mad rush of everybody trying to buy real estate assets before the end of the year, because everybody's CPA says go forth and buy assets. And so I'm doing about 5 PML deals a week, helping PMLs protect their investments as a transaction coordinator. So, just the power of a TC, because if you look at it, what we're at, 18,000 people in the sub 2 community. We have 10 plus thousand people in the Gator community. There's well over 100,000 people in the free Facebook group, the Paces free group. And so there's no shortage of people doing real estate transactions that could probably use, the help of a transaction coordinator, because at the end of the day, you got to look at it this way. What is it that your superpower is? Most of these investors are good at closing. They're good at finding deals. They're good at meeting with sellers. They're not good at making sure the paperwork is clean, and they're not good at contacting title companies and knowing what's going on behind the scenes. So why worry about that? Delegate that. It's an inexpensive insurance policy. My team can do a sub-2 deal for $1,200, and that's a $1,200 insurance policy to make sure your sub-2 deal closes properly with all the proper documentation. I mean, that's a no-brainer in my opinion. We do Gator transactions for $800, and
Really?
and 9 times out of 10, the lender passes that fee on to the borrower and just says, "Look, I work with a TC. This is non-negotiable. Here's my fee, and the TC fee is $800." And I've never seen a borrower go, "No, I don't want my investment protected."
Right.
So it's not even something that's hard to sell.
All right. This is going to be my last question, and then we'll just do some more promotions on your business. Looking back, what would you say are some key factors that contributed to your success?
So the first one would be, hire a coach, because you don't know what you don't know. Number 2 is, believe in yourself. You're capable of more things than you probably realize. And if you look back in the timeline of your life, of the things you overcame, with the things you've done, with the things that people didn't think you could do, you've really done a lot. And so taking a victory lap on the things you've done and understanding that, look, I've accomplished things. And instead, most of us want to beat ourselves up for the things we didn't do instead of taking a victory lap for the things we have done. So that would be another factor, is take that victory lap. We've all done some really, really cool stuff. Own it. And then don't try to do everything yourself. I've had to learn this lesson the hard way. As Pace would say, squat up. Find some partner, find people that are doing what you want to do and are doing it differently, and figure out how they're doing it and do it with them. That's
all right. So let me ask you. Or I got to ask you one last one. How can, say, I partner up with you on an RV park?
awesome. So
what would I need to bring to the table?
yeah, so it depends on what you want to do. So we've had people come to us and say, "Look, I want to manage an RV park for you." Great. So we've been building a list of people that want to manage RV parks, and so we've been interviewing them. And then there's people that says, "Look, I want to find a deal and I want to partner with you." Great. Okay, well, we want 75 pads or higher. We want it to be in a vacation type area where people want to go hang out. I'm not looking for worker camps. I'd like it to be cash flowing about $200K a year from the start, but we can play with that during, for the underwriting. And then let me know what you want to do, because a lot of people just want to drop an RV park on my lap and go, "Okay, I'd like to get paid." But if you truly want to partner, tell me what you want to partner with. I get these people all the time. Well, what is it you want me to do? Well, what is it that you want to do? Because if I tell you what to do and it's not something you love, it's not going to work out well. That partnership isn't going to work out, and you're going to run the other way, and then you're going to say, "Well, I hate multifamily real estate. It just doesn't work for me." So understanding what you want in a transaction, what you want in a partnership, and it's also important to say what you don't want. Most of us spend our times, and I think this is why I'm off to an incredible relationship with my wife, is because we had that sit down that says, these are all the things we want in life, and these are the things that are non-negotiable. I'm not going to negotiate on these. These are things that I'm not going to compromise. And that was a game changer, right? But it's the same in business. Business is just another marriage, right? It's a relationship. And if everybody doesn't lay out their cards and say, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want, and this is non-negotiable, until you have that conversation, you really don't have a true partnership, in my opinion. And that's made things very successful for me and for the people I've worked with.
Yeah, you got to know what you want. I mean, even in sales, they tell us the want is the why. So, I mean, it's pretty much the want and the why are the same thing. So, if you don't know what that is, it's going to be kind of hard to get to where you want to go.
It's true, Todd.
Go ahead.
That's true, but you want to do a funny experiment. The hardest question that people cannot answer is, "What do you want?" Just ask them, "What do you want for dinner?" What do you want?
I know that. That's a daily struggle.
Exactly.
We have that daily struggle here in my house. What do you want for supper?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat?
Well, people are afraid to say what they want for some reason. Just say it. This is what I want. And then, so here's the thing that you have to understand too, is you have to you have to be willing to risk the relationship, meaning that you've got to put it out there. You've got to be open and honest and risk the relationship. And I'm telling you, 9.5 times out of 10, most people will appreciate that and say, okay, great. I asked this person a question. They gave me a clear answer. I don't have to agree with the answer, but at least they gave it to me. And so that at least starts the dialogue, right? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
do that experiment. That's the toughest question people will answer is, what do you want?
Oh, I know it. Because it's this. I have a hard time answering that question. I do. What do you want?
Yeah. But
I don't
Todd,
know. I can
that,
throw out some general BS.
yeah, but then you have to ask yourself, am I getting what I want out of life? And the answer is probably no, because you can't even say what you want. And
Right.
I've been guilty of this too. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I've been guilty of this too. I wish I would have learned it when I was younger. I didn't, and that's okay. But I know it now, and now I'm unstoppable. There's literally nothing that can stop me.
All right. So I got to ask you this. Hey, you think your time in the military helped you get to where you can, stay focused, figure out what you want? You think that was a good for you in your life?
Between the military and the martial arts. So the military was good for a kid who didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. It taught me some discipline. It taught me how to be part of something bigger than myself. That was great. Martial arts, similar, right? Taught me focus, determination, confidence, and being something part of something bigger. So then fast forward into the future where I get these communities like Venus, these communities like Pace, even this community like Michael Burnoff, where, okay, now I'm part of something bigger. I'm part of a group of people that want me to be successful as they want to be successful themselves. That changes everything, especially when you've got these people that are so willing to give without expecting something in return. And you want to give so much back because of them. So yeah, so it's been kind of a stack of things where it started in the military and it went into, the martial arts community, and then it went into these other communities that the ones that focus on community are the most powerful. I've taken classes and I've got college degrees, but the only things that have stuck were things that were surrounded by community. Were people that are willing that when I call them up on the phone before I finish my sentence, they say, "Okay, how can I help?"
They don't leave you hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's with the community, especially with the sub two. I've really noticed because you got into. I've tried other programs, chasing things, and you just buy the program and you're left there alone with it. And then when I got into this was a whole different monster. I was like, oh, I was blown away. I was really blown away by the sub two community and how active the people are in it. It's amazing. So, hey, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one of the things I got the pleasure of doing for Pace is I host the live Q&A on the free Facebook group and on the YouTube channel once a week. And that's the biggest feedback I get from people that have been successful in sub two is, first of all, goes, well, I thought this was too good to be true. And then when I got into it and realized how powerful the community was, I had no choice but to be successful. And so those are the two big things I hear every time somebody shares their sub two or their Gator story is, I thought it was too good to be true. But once I got in there and I met all the amazing people, I had no choice but to be successful.
Right. I mean, I'm not doing like $1 million deals yet, but I haven't. The thing is with the community too, it keeps. I think it helps keep people motivated, involved, and participating, because otherwise, most people will do things a little while and then give up, throw it to the side.
Yeah.
This isn't working,
And you have to do that $10,000 deal or that $100,000 deal first, because most of us don't know what we would do with $1 million deal. And so it's the same thing when someone walks into a martial arts school. 9.5 times out of 10, the first thing they say is, "I want to get to a black belt. I want a black belt." Great. I'm thinking to myself, that's 4 years, a lot of money, a lot of practice. Let's get you from white belt to yellow belt first, and then we'll talk about orange belt, which is next. But let's not talk about black belt until we get closer. But it's the same. People, when I want $1 million deal, I want a $10 million business. Have you ever run a $10,000 business? Have you ever run a $100,000 business? Once you learn how to do it there, then adding more zeros doesn't become more difficult.
Okay. I see that. Man, it's been a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure talking with you, and I very much appreciate you taking the time to come on today, taking the time out of your Saturday to do this.
Of course.
And we need to talk more. And again, I do. So buy box for RV parks. If I find something in the area, what would you be looking for? I could bring it to you and say, hey, does this look like something you would want, or is this something we could partner on?
Yeah, exactly. We're looking for stuff between 5 and 15 million. over, like I said, over 75 pads. And of course, cabins and glamping and all that other stuff. All that's all great too. You can add all that in there. But like I said, we've got to set it up so it cash flows on day one. That's the key. That's the key. And every guru out there, Cody Sanchez says that about buying businesses. Pace says that about his assets. If you're not making money on day one, it's not worth your time and energy. And you're really not helping anybody, because a real successful deal means that the seller gets what they want, and then you get a cash flowing asset, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us your websites where they can find for your fund.
Yeah. So the fund is Venture Vibes Fund, just like it sounds. And of course, on there is a link to our partnership with Leapfrog, so you get to meet that team. And then for the TC stuff, it's just finishlinetcservices.com.
Okay, cool. And that's how you can get a hold of Jason. And if you need his services or you want to get involved in his fund, thank you again for the time.
We got a webinar coming up mid January. If anybody wants to jump in on that, we're going to talk about the whole asset and the returns and everything, and let people ask questions. So yeah, definitely reach out and we can get you on that webinar.
All right. I'll have your websites on your description in the video too, so anybody can find that. The webinar, if you want to send me information on that, I can. Are you part of the Facebook group?
The Action Takers one?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah. Okay. So post it in there, please.
Okay.
Also, I please, you can promote yourself all you want in there. I don't mind people self-promoting in the group. That's what it's for, promoting. So
I will take you up on it.
All righty. Cool, man. I very much appreciate your time today, and thank you for doing this. You've given me some great insight on some things I need to take a look at, and I need to do this clip and strengths.
Yeah, and thank you for doing what you're doing. The message you're putting out there is incredible. People need to hear this. We can all be successful, and we can all be successful together, because it's the one thing I say. It's fun to make money. It's even more fun to make money with your friends. So
right, absolutely, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Still trying to figure it out. So, man, again, I hope to be more in contact. It's great you're right down in Corpus. You're ever up in Houston, man, give me a shout. We'll hang out. If you ever go up here for some meetups, let's hang out.
Yeah, we're gonna start planning for that. We got to go up there for meetups, because we want to meet up with the Sub 2 community, and then farther up north near Dallas is where we meet up for the multifamily stuff. So yeah, we'll definitely connect.
You got to come up and meet the Muds too. Meet the Muds, and then y'all need to start doing some kind of some seminars. Y'all can all team up and do something.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, Erica has worked directly with them. I have not, but I know who they are, and I would love to meet them in person.
All right. Anyway, if there's anything I can do to help you with any seminars or anything you want to do in the future, let me know. You have my information.
Appreciate
I'll be more than glad to help you out.
Yeah, and if you guys are putting together anything and you need more speakers, let us know. Eric and I, we kind of tour around together and speak together. So, we talk about being in business together, having that partnership, that dual partnership of our life together and our business together. But more importantly, just talking about the aspects of being an integrator and a visionary and an underwriter and a, closer and all that. And it's just fun. But I really think that there's a lot of powerful couples out there that don't know what they have, and we can help make a few tweaks.
Cool. Definitely. I want to do some stuff with some seminars in the future for action takers only, seminars and trainings. So definitely.
Love it.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to end this and see how long it takes to download it.